people in my family, you know, that like they've all had like issues with abuse, right?
Yeah, drug abuse, alcohol abuse.
Yeah, they've all had issues with abuse, and then like, you know, a couple years later they grow out of it, and it is what it is.
Right.
You know, for me that's not the case.
Right.
And that's I think what it was, is I had to come to that realization for me that like I'm not my family. Like I'm not the other people that are in my family.
Yeah.
Like I have an actual issue. And that wasn't until not saying they don't, but you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I do. Like and it wasn't until this last time, right?
Right.
Now this was actually in June, so I had been sober at this point. But last Cinco de Mayo, I got into another altercation with my car. I was drinking and I was driving, and a cop pulled me over. They breathalyzed me. I was drunk, but somehow they said I was good. Somehow I passed the breathalyzer. I don't know how, but my insurance, I didn't have insurance on my car apparently. So they towed my car. So I didn't get a DUI, I didn't get anything, but I got my car towed, right? And then so I kept drinking up until like, I think it was May 21st, because my sobriety date now is May 22nd, right? Coming up on a year. But in June of last year, I had a seizure when I was driving, right? And this is really, I think this is really when I saw God. And it wasn't for me like, you know, I've known what step one was. Not to say I didn't have a step one. Right. Because I've known what step one was for 8 years now. Yeah. It's like 9 years now, you know? So when I finally found God, it was more of a turning point for me, because that was when I really truly saw that like, cool, I am powerless, but he's got all the power. You know, and if I could put my trust in that, then I'll be okay. And that's when my step one really came into play, I think. So I had a seizure when I was driving, and nothing happened. I didn't hit anybody. I crashed my car. Of course, I had a seizure when I was driving. I mean, you know, pass out.
But the seizure wasn't a result of
it wasn't
drinking.
No, I was sober. At that point, I was maybe 2 weeks sober.
Okay.
So I'm epileptic. So if I don't take my medicine, I get seizures. Yeah. So, and that's not like drug induced or anything like that. That's just unfortunately what I have. So I had a seizure. I didn't hit anybody. I didn't hurt myself. My car's fine. I mean, it got pretty banged up. You saw my car. Yeah. After that, but it's drivable. I drove it for almost a year until I finally got rid of it just recently. And, you know, like the big thing though, the huge thing for me was how many people came out and supported me, like at the hospital. Yeah. That was the biggest thing, because I felt so alone for so long. And it wasn't until like I was truly in need of people that God actually like opened all that up and kind of brought me to the light. Like,
so it's almost like you kind of couldn't really get step one until you had kind of this revelation of two and three in a sense, right? Which that's the thing, is like we think linearly, humans, and we also think dualistically, and so for you, it's like when you realized that there was, it's like this, like this is what I'm observing as you're talking. I'm kind of thinking to myself, like it's almost like when you realized that there was a path forward, that was when you were like almost like allowed yourself to go, okay, I can see there's a way to go. Now I can truly admit that I'm powerless and my life's unmanageable. It's almost like when you didn't see a path forward, you just like couldn't come to that place of surrender and acceptance of what and who you were, because it's like there's no alternative. Yeah. And once you saw an alternative, it was like, okay, I can admit it now.
I mean, I'm stubborn. Yeah. You know, I think a lot of alcoholics and drug addicts are stubborn and hard-headed. You know, and so sometimes that's, for me at least, that is the case. Yeah. You know, but even though I didn't necessarily like have a step one, you I was still working. I was still moving on and working the rest of the steps. And my step 1 came a little bit later on.
Yeah.
You know, because I've been through the steps like 3 times in these past 3 years. You know, so I've worked all the steps. More so this last time, the best that I could than any other time before.
Yeah.
You know, but like I still got a lot. Every time I go through the steps, I'm still learning things.
Yeah.
You know,